Hello, everyone. Let's see, where's my slides? Welcome to the afternoon, the second day of I.O. I hope everyone is enjoying their time here. My name is John Ely, and I'm here to give you a little bit more information about where we are with Tango. If you saw the keynote, which probably most of you did, you got to see a little bit, but in this session, we're going to see a lot more and go into a lot more depth than we could otherwise. So I wanted to start with this quote from Bo Lotto, who's a neuroscientist from the University College London. And he said that the best technologies are the ones that make the invisible visible. And an example of that is a microscope. It's a tool that allowed us to see more things about our environment, things that may have always been there, but they let us see things in a new way and give us a better understanding about how the world works, and also changes the way about how we view ourselves as well. And most of our devices today, I can play the video. Yeah, most of our devices today view the world as a flat screen. But we're physical beings in a physical world, and we wanted to add the capabilities to understand 3D with Tango, adding the ability to sense motion, as well as the depth of objects and surfaces. So if I place this bottle here, if it stays, this doesn't have a flat surface. Well, if I place the bottle here, its mere physical presence here is meaningful to all of us. I can refer to it and talk about it in a way that all of us understand simply because of its physical presence. And it's because of the way our minds have evolved. And if our tools understood the fact that this bottle was here before, we would have a shared understanding with not just the people in this room, but also with our tools. As a quick refresher, Tango has 3 new capabilities for mobile devices. We add motion tracking, depth perception, and area learning. And you'll learn a little bit more about the large-scale area learning from Justin that we call the Visual Positioning Service. First, let's take a quick recap of the hardware. So as you may know, the first device that came out with Tango-enabled device capabilities was the Lenovo Fab 2 Pro. This came back last fall, and it had all of the hardware we needed to do these capabilities. And our second generation phone is the Asus ZenFone AR, which is a 5.7-inch phone that's both Tango-enabled and Daydream-ready, with a quad HD OLED display and a sleek, thin design. It's really, really nice phone. We're also pleased to mention that later this summer, in Verizon stores across the store, customers will be able to play with the ZenFone AR across the United States, with 11 international other countries coming in the summer as well. In addition to the phones, as you saw in the keynote, we now support standalone headsets for VR. And we've been working on a specialized version of Tango that does tracking in 3D. So we use 2 fisheye cameras and all of the SLAM technology built into Tango to allow 6-degree freedom positional movement in a VR headset. Now, we all know that hardware is merely the vehicle that carries new experience to users. And it's a software that brings those experiences and value to our users. So let me show you a really short video just showing some of the great work that's running on the platform today. So that's just a really short glimpse into some of the 100 apps that have now been available on the Play Store since the phones came out just a few months ago. I'd like to highlight just a few of these in 3 different categories: games, shopping, and tools. In games, Electronic Arts recently released an update for their Sims Free Play, which allowed you to use Tango to walk through the environment of the houses that your Sims live in a first-person perspective. Lego Brickhead's Builder AR is a character building game where you can see your characters come to life in front of you. You can build your own custom models or work with some of the free models that they provide in the game. Hologrid Monster Battle from Tippett Studios creates a turn-based chess game right on your living room table where you can use combinations of monsters to try to defeat your opponents. Now, one area we've seen a lot of value, in particular for 3D visualization, is shopping. Pottery Barn released an app called 3D Room View that uses the Tango sensors to place products from their catalog right in your room so you can see how they'll fit and look with your existing furniture. And you can also clear out the furniture and start from an empty room from scratch. BMW iExplore lets you verify if you're interested in a BMW i3 if it's going to be a good fit in your garage. You can also check out the much higher-end i8 if you're curious about that. You can check out all the interiors, configure it. You can look at the dashboard and chair details just by moving around. One of the areas that's particularly hard is shopping for clothing online and having a good fit. So Gap has been working with a company called Avametric, which does physically accurate simulation of 3D models and clothes. So you simply pick the mannequin that best fits your body type, and you can see exactly how different size clothes will fit and stretch when you wear them. In addition to these partners, we have several other partners interested in making applications that can help you make better decisions when you're shopping online with your phone or helping you shop in the store. Now, tools is also a really interesting category, and it helps create a new class that gives you the ability to make measurements about your environment. And it's great for people who are trying to get work done. Just to give you a few examples of these, we also have a clip of what partners are doing in this area.
Our goal was to develop an app that lets you create a floor plan without actively drawing or measuring. And MagicPlan is the first app that lets you do that. Before Tango, we were using the RGB camera and the rather noisy IMU to capture a room, but we had to prevent the user from moving during the capture process. The odometry, depth sensing, and RGB camera allow us to semantically classify and locate everything you see through your device, and all of that in a matter of minutes.
Trimble has combined Google's Tango technology with a lightweight centimeter-accurate GNSS receiver to create a high-accuracy outdoor mixed reality system. From using paper plans on site to providing a real-world understanding of future space relative to today's space.
Just how beneficial it would be through the earthwork stage, the service investigation and installation stage, and the pavement construction.
Recently, we were in the middle of mechanical coordination at the General Motors Technical Center, Research and Science Building. We had modeling of the facility, but there were gaps that needed to be filled to ensure the systems would work in the compressor room. We were able to use a Tango-enabled device to quickly capture missing information, verify clearances, and keep coordination expedited.
Cat LiveShare is a live telepresence application that gives us live audio, live video, and also introduces augmented reality annotation. So the difference with the Google Tango device is that it's mapping the world at real time. And we can actually annotate on this side of the machine, spin around and annotate behind us, and come right back, and those annotations are still there. So there's a huge benefit for us going from one place to another, but also keeping that history of where you've been around a machine.
My name is Matt Whelan, and I'm a VFX supervisor in Toronto, Canada. I use Google Tango, an amazing program by Matterport called Scenes for on-set data acquisition. You get back basic texture information, lots of volumetric information, but most importantly, you get it at world scale. Meaning your actor's 5'4", now you have that on record, but you also get the wrinkles in their costume or the certain way the actor stands. How big is that doorway or that prop? Google Tango and Matterport Scenes make that kind of on-set data acquisition easy, quick, and efficient.
Thanks. So those just give you a glimpse into the kind of things that genuinely save people time or money to get their jobs done. And we see the value of Tango being able to provide more of that to more people. In terms of demos, one of the things I wanted to highlight was one of the sandbox demos. How many of you have actually been to the Tango sandbox? OK, that looks about a third to half of you. One of the demos there that I think is really great is this one called Somewhere, or Welcome to Oz. And when you walk into that space, all you see is this empty floor and 2 walls. But with the work of a team up in San Francisco trying to better estimate lighting and shadows and reflections to make AR content blend better with the environment, when you look through the Zenfone AR, oh, there's a video. Is there a video? Back one more. That one, yes. So that's a really fun experience, and if you go to the sandbox, you can get a selfie taken with one of the characters just like this. But with the right work and focus on lighting and shadows and reflections on the floor, the compositing of the characters can look very realistic. So let me give you a demo of some of these live. Can we switch to the phone? So the first one I'm going to show you is an app called Hollow, which is done by a company called 8eye based in Los Angeles. So in addition to animated characters, we can actually also do real-world characters or real-life people. So what they have is a capture system with a large array of cameras that allow you to do live performances of people and capture them in full 3D. So let's add someone that you guys may be familiar with.
Well, hey, it's great to be here. Sorry I couldn't be here in person, but I did the next best thing, which was sending my hologram, because, holograms are cool. Well, hey, it's great.
So I can walk around and look at them from a bunch of different angles. And so you can bring any live actor or any live performance in their studio and capture them in 3D and place them in the space just like this. Because they're virtual in 3D, we can do something a little bit more fun, like this.
Well, hey, it's great to be.
We'll do this one. And we'll shrink him like this.
Whoa, OK, now that is a big water bottle. Huh.
So this is a lot of fun, and it just kind of shows you what's possible when there's more and more content out there and people building these type of 3D experiences. We also have made a bunch of SDK improvements. And one of the ones I want to show you is something that we've been calling COM internally, but it's basically online drift correction and map building. So if you have this app, which is our built-in measurement app, the measurements are only useful if they stay attached to the world. And drift correction is something that we've had turned on as an experimental mode for a while. But we've been making some optimizations in the performance of it so that we can run it real time, all the time, without minimal impact on the applications. So if I shake the phone and basically lose tracking, it locks back on and brings back the measurements to the same space. So if you update your SDK, yeah, I think that's a cool one. So this keeps content registered to the environment, even if the user walks away or puts it in their pocket and brings it back out, as long as it's within the same session. So if you update the app and you work with one of the current SDKs, you'll have this online drift correction for you automatically. So can we go back to the slides? We also have a few other SDK improvements I'd like to share. One big request, this one is our constructor developer tool, which we also have being demoed in our sandbox area. And it's our first-party 3D scanning app. And I just wanted to show you a video showing some of the updated results. So this is all data that's been captured with the Lenovo Fab 2 Pro and also processed on the Fab 2 Pro. And you can see that the quality of the reconstruction is actually pretty good. It's not fully photorealistic, but you get a pretty good sense of the environment and being able to walk around and see some of the details and get a sense of the space. Now, one of the cool things is that with the Asus phone, it's both Tango enabled and Daydream ready. So not only can you scan a room in full 3D and get these kind of captures, but we added a VR viewing mode. So with a press of the button, you can then put it in a Daydream headset and actually move throughout your VR environment, move through the apartment you just scanned, using the Daydream controller to teleport through this apartment. So it's pretty amazing that you can do all of this with a phone that fits in your pocket. We've talked to some developers, and not everyone knows what to do with the 3D model. A lot of real estate developers and facilities management simply want a floor plan. So we took some of our algorithms for 3D meshing and just export a 2D floor plan so that you can walk around and get an estimate of the walls and the doors and the furniture. One really interesting thing is that the developer that worked on this, he realized his apartment was actually 50 square feet smaller than it's supposed to be. So you genuinely could use this to try to renegotiate your rent if you felt like you were getting charged too much. We also have gotten feedback that better occlusion tools and sample code was desired. So we now have examples of, or coming soon, examples of real-time shaders that combine data from both the RGB camera and the depth camera so that you can do effects like this really very easily and without a lot of hassle of writing your own code to figure out how to do this well. Also, some sample code on using data from the RGB camera to improve environmental illumination. Shadows and lighting and changes in the environment add a lot to the realism or the effect of whether or not something looked like it's really there. So you can see the reflection of the notebook and the mug in this pool ball. There's still some ways to go before we're Hollywood quality special effects, but this isn't bad for a real-time capability on phones. We're also happy to say that if you're one of the developers that worked on one of the 40,000 Vuforia apps currently in the Play Store, your app Vuforia now has native Tango integration. So your Vuforia apps will continue to work on a broad range of phones, but if they're run on a Tango phone, they'll benefit from additional features such as the smart terrain system that processes their point cloud and better tracking from our fisheye camera. So we're really happy to welcome this augmented reality community that's been around for a few years. Another exciting thing that we wanted to share, give a little bit of detail on, is Web AR and Chromium. So today, if you want to take advantage of the benefits of AR and be able to place objects in the person's room, you'd actually have to convince the user to find your application, download it from the Play Store, and install the app. But just like with WebVR, wouldn't it be great to just go to a URL and suddenly you would be able to download and pull all the assets right away? So if we could view AR content as easily as we could view images or video on the web, that would be really great. So this is actually an early prototype of Chromium web browser at a Wayfair website. And you can see that the motion tracking data, the depth data, are all actually piped directly into the web page. And what the person has done here is actually drawn out a box in their living room and says, well, what tables will actually fit in this space? And Wayfair responds with the tables that will actually fit the constraints and is able to place and render that object all inside the browser. So as you think about content, being able to discover content very easily, we view this as a really interesting way to make it much easier for people who own 3D assets and want to get more viewers on those 3D assets to users much more quickly without having to pre-install a specific app. Now, to tell you a little bit more about location and AR and our visual positioning service, let me hand it off to Justin.
Thanks, Johnny. Hi, everyone. My name is Justin Quimby, and I'm a senior product manager on the Tango team. And we've made a lot of progress in the last year on location-based AR, and I'm thrilled the chance to show off what the team's been working on. So Clay mentioned the visual positioning service at the keynote, and I'm proud to say that the service already has apps running on it today. The first app which launched on VPS was an app entitled Lumen, built by Guidago and running at the museum, the Detroit Institute of Arts. Lumen enables both navigation to exhibits and digital content when you arrive at those exhibits. So here you can see in the app a visitor getting navigation to a specific exhibit. Now this is using no Bluetooth beacons, no Wi-Fi maps, or GPS. This is entirely visual navigation. And then once the user gets to the exhibit, I'll skip to the next slide. Yeah. So once you get to the exhibit, you can then see digital content overlaid on top of the real world. So here you see a CAT scan of a mummy in the real environment. So this allows visitors through the Fab 2 Pro to see through the outer wrapping and revealing the skeleton underneath. And as a result of this overlay of digital information in the real world, visitors can actually see the really large crack on the skull of the mummy. And this blending of the real and the digital means that visitors are actively engaging with and learning from the mummy, rather than walking into the room and saying, hey, it's a mummy, and leaving. And in part because of this, Lumen won the American Alliance of Museums annual competition for the Games and Augmented Reality app category, in part because the app delivers meaningful visitor outcomes. And we've also launched an AR experience at the Art Science Museum in Singapore, which you saw at Johnny's keynote this morning. This app transforms over 1,000 square meters of the museum into a virtual rainforest, which you can explore using your Tango device. And Into the Wild, which is the app, is made by the Art Science Museum, Google, Lenovo, and the World Wildlife Fund, in association with Panasonic, Qualcomm, and working with Media Monks and a Singaporean artist, Brian Tan. And in April, the Singapore National Museum also launched a Tango-based experience using VPS. So this app lets visitors explore the museum and see how it's evolved over the past 130 years. And so this floating whale skeleton used to be in the museum, but was transferred to Malaysia in the 1970s. And so now you have parents taking their kids and explaining to them what they used to saw when they were kids visiting the museum. And since it's a digital object placed in the world, it can actually show not just the skeleton, but a full whale. And not just a static whale, but also a whale and how it eats. And it's not just museums that have launched apps using VPS. Earlier this year, we launched a treasure hunt experience in conjunction with the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. And this app allows players to go on a digital treasure hunt for coins within the casino. And they can use those to then try to win real-world prizes. And Google succeeds when our partners succeed. And we're fortunate to have one of our partners here today with us, Kyle from Lowe's, to talk about how they built on top of the Tango platform to solve real problems for their users.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks, Justin. So when you think of Lowe's, you don't necessarily think of emerging tech like Tango. You know, every organization on the planet says they want to create the new disruptive tools, but that's harder than it seems. You know, there are two things you have to figure out: what you want to work on and what you don't want to work on. So to figure that out, we get people together inside and outside of the company to work on those things. You need an intuitive way, though, to be able to help people understand the future. That's a hard thing. We do that through story. So we create actual narratives about the future we want to build, and then we work backwards to bring it to life. This is a scene, actually, from our first story that we turned into a comic book. And it turned out to be the most disruptive tool we've ever built. So one of the hardest things about home improvement is that it's really, really hard to envision how your project is going to turn out. And even harder to communicate that to the person you have to convince to communicate that to somebody else. So it's estimated that about $70 billion in projects every year go unfulfilled just because of this visualization problem. So we knew that we could use visualization tech to build new tools that could help solve this problem. And we used the comic book to show our executive team what the future would look like. And it's all about bringing those intuitive solutions to life in order to influence human behavior. It's not about building tech for tech's sake. And our executive's reaction to the comic book, after seeing what we could do, was to go build it. So we did it. And 4 years ago, we brought the first iteration of that augmented reality design solution that we call the Hollow Room into 2 of our Canadian stores. So it was really early, 4 years ago. It was really early, and the tech was rough. But we use our stores as living labs that would show us so we can get real feedback from actual customers and employees, not just to create solutions that work, but solutions that actually work for real people and our customers. And we talked about what we were doing really loudly. And the intention of that is to attract more what we call uncommon partners. You know, the kinds of people and organizations that you wouldn't expect a Lowe's to work with. And that could help us achieve this narrative. So Google was one of our earliest partners to respond to that call. And from the earliest days of exploring AR and VR, we worked with Google to push the future further, faster. And in fact, in the second generation, as you can see here, of the Hollow Room, we created a Google Cardboard vending machine that I love to give customers a takeaway VR experience, right? Once again, not about creating stuff, but creating stuff that works. And so, but really, it's not about VR and AR. This kitchen vignette is what you typically see when you come into one of our stores. Our benchmark is not what's the best AR or VR experience. It's the way customers visualize today that is decidedly low tech. So when we are building experiences that are so far removed from where customers know today, this kitchen vignette, how do we measure what's working? So we quickly found that the right tools didn't exist to evaluate if people like something that they've never experienced before, something truly new, like Tango. And my background is actually in behavioral science, and I teamed up with some of my partners from academia to take the latest research and turn it into an applied neuroscience tool. So this turned into a company called Neurons Inc. that anyone can use. And the real reason is you can't trust people's stated reactions to tech that's so new. And one of the things I always hear is, you know, I love it, and then you take it off and never put it back on again. So neuroscience allows us to tap into customers' unstated reactions through a variety of measures. We've completed thousands of hours of neuroscience testing on different AR and VR technologies. And our study showed that the busy kitchen vignettes were causing cognitive overload. And as you can see here in this bar, low emotional engagement and motivation. And then next, we tested all other VR and AR tools. And they did better, but they were still too overwhelming. But when we tested Tango, even early on with customers, we saw for the first time that they had the optimal level of cognitive interest. They were more engaged. They were also more motivated in a positive way. And all of this meant we had finally hit upon a truly intuitive experience. So last fall, we celebrated our first ever global launch with the Lowe's Vision Tango app, which allows customers to measure their space and select virtual Lowe's products to fit it. At the same time, we launched the Lenovo Fab 2 Pro at Lowe's, introducing the next generation of what we call digital power tools. And the phone sold out in just a few days after launch. Think about that, Lowe's selling phones. And since launching Lowe's Vision, we've had a really positive response from customers who are excited about how comfortable it is to design and personalize their homes using this platform. Now we're excited to be an early partner bringing the visual positioning service to our stores. So we've launched in-store mapping in 2 stores to help customers find products faster. And based on the positive response so far, we are excited to announce that Google will be mapping 400 more stores. Just to give you an example of what it's like to use this app in our store, check out this video.
Well, here we are inside, and if you're anything like me, you get to these places and you're like, oh my god, where do I even start? But fortunately, I happen to have a Tango phone right here, which is going to help me get from product to product to buy exactly what I need way faster than I'd normally be able to get there. So let's have a look here. Okay, so I'm just going to open up the Lowe's app here and then pull up my shopping list. Now, this stuff is all over the store, and normally you'd be like, where is any of it? But with this, what I can do is just navigate, and my phone is going to tell me, okay, we're over this way. 75-foot outdoor extension cord. Okay, we got that next. Okay, and the number 9 is pretty good. Number 9, got it. Oh, maybe it is. Oh, hey, what's up? What are you doing here? Hey, shopping mailboxes. Orange hex bolts. Check. Yes. We got some hex bolts.
Great. Thank you so much. Justin, thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Kyle. Partners are a critical component of the Tango ecosystem, and we're thrilled to be working with Lowe's. And a common thread of all these location-based AR experiences you've just seen is they're built on top of the visual positioning service, a service for developers to map indoor environments and then create location-based AR experiences. So let's get into the details of how it works. The visual positioning service is comprised of 3 components: mapping, cloud processing, and client localization. Now, the first step is that of creating a map. So, in a venue which has given us permission, such as this Lowe's store, collection involves walking through the store through the main pathways with the Tango device. With the wide-angle camera, combined with the motion tracking capabilities of the Tango stack, it creates a data set of the environment, which you can see on the right. When this collection pass is completed, the data again gets uploaded into the cloud, which brings us to our second step, the cloud processing pipeline. So here's a visualization of an aggregation of all the different mapping runs for a given Lowe's store. In every frame, we're detecting hundreds of visual features to compute the 3D location of corresponding points in the scene. These collected data sets are then processed, aligned, and compressed using middle out into a cloud map. This mapping is based on purely visual feature tracking. It doesn't need Bluetooth, it doesn't need Wi-Fi, it doesn't need GPS to create this map. And every capture and recapture of a venue is incorporated to the map and improves it. And an important note here on size. One of our larger venues that's currently running on VPS is a shopping mall, over 900,000 square feet. And in that shopping mall, we use over 1.3 million keyframes, 37 million landmarks, and over 300 million key points to provide localization of anywhere from 1 centimeter to 5 centimeters. So this is a scalable system to tackle not only your living room, but massive, massive indoor facilities. Now, once VPS has completed its cloud processing step, we now have a map of the environment which any Tango-enabled device can localize against. So now we go into, let's return to that same Lowe's store. And so this is a video of a device localizing in a Lowe's store. Now, just as you can control the permissions for GPS on your phone, so too do you have control over apps that have access to VPS permissions. To be able to localize in a space, the user needs to give the app permission to use both the camera and location permissions. Once the user is granted those permissions, as it moves through the environment, it's looking for visual features and matching those against the stored cloud map. This provides continuous adjustment and alignment between the device's position and all of the AR content which has been placed in that space. So, VPS, go forward one. Yeah. All right, well, VPS provides you, the developer, a coordinate system to overlay digital content into the real world. The CAT scan of the mummy, all of the products in a Lowe's store, and the treasure hunt in the MGM Grand all use the same back-end service. And today, we have over 150 buildings mapped and running on VPS. So great. You've got a little bit more information about how VPS works and its capabilities. How do you build for it? So today, VPS is in private beta. If you're interested in developing for VPS, please go to developers.google.com/tango and sign up to get more information as we bring more and more developers onto the platform over the course of the coming months. But what you can do today is build an AR app based on Tango's core capabilities: motion tracking, depth sensing, and area learning, which are foundational for creating great AR experiences. And the final step is to start thinking about what would you build if you had a persistent AR layer over the world. And as you saw at the keynote with Expeditions, when you create experiences that allow multiple people to have a shared experience across multiple devices, not only are you adding digital content to the real world, but you're also adding shared meaning to these interactions among people. And we believe that's one of the most powerful aspects of AR. And VPS allows for the creation of persistent and transient maps of space on which people can experience the same AR content together. And VPS is a tool we're building to enable you to create amazing location-based AR experiences. We can't wait to see what you build on top of this service. Let's all aim to build experiences which bring our users joy, like this. So with that, I'd like to hand it back to Johnny to talk about the future.
Thanks, Justin. It's really great to see the past year of progress they've made with content partners and their location service over the past year. But I'd like to leave you with a glimpse ahead, just this sample of what we've been working on as research projects, either internally or externally, to paint a little bit of the road ahead. And some of these are done with partners. And just as important to say that these aren't necessarily things that will be in the roadmap or no deterministic ship date, but gives you a sense of where things are going over time. So we can play the video. I think that drone video is pretty sweet. So that's some of the work we've been doing with partners and experimental and research work. But over time, we hope to start to bring more and more of these into the platform so that people like you can use them. Over the next 12 months, the team is working hard to bring Tango capabilities to more and more devices, be they phones or standalone headsets. And we do expect that number to grow rapidly. And we do believe that one day, all our phones will have some form of this capability built in. As you saw in the video, the ability to have indoor precise positioning and tracking capabilities like VPS will enable new types of spatially aware computing and enable new devices in the wearable space and even in the future, robotic platforms. There's a lot of exciting work to come, and working with more of you, the developers, to create new experiences that enhance the way we play, the way we shop, or find a way in stores, or new ways of learning. And Tango allows us to interact with digital content in a physical way, bringing new forms of immersive computing. So for more information, please see our developer website, or consider joining the Google Tango developer Google Plus community that has over 12,000 developers posting videos and links to new apps on a regular basis. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of I/O.